time being 7 p.m., I call to order the Franklin School Committee meeting. Meetings are recorded by Franklin TV and shown on Comcast Channel 11 and Verizon Channel 29, as well as recorded by Franklin Matters. Any individual who also wishes to record this meeting must notify the chair in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20F. To begin this meeting, I'm going to ask that our town clerk, Ms. Nancy Danello, will conduct the official swearing in of our new members. So, Mrs. Danello, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody. Congratulations. How exciting. I'm going to get out of the way because I know people want to take pictures. I'm going to ask you all to rise. And if you would raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially perform the duties incumbent upon you as a member of the school committee to the best of your ability, so help you God? Yes. I do. Congratulations.
All right, let's get one photo while we have you do that. We'll jump in front.
Do you want to get in there?
I'll take one with just them and then with me.
Perfect.
Yes. Mind your way, Steve? I'm sorry, I jumped right in front of you. I feel like I'm the boss.
Oh, he would tell you.
It's like the Mona Lisa.
He's the boss.
He's like trying to photograph the Mona Lisa.
Smile. There you go.
Go ahead, Lucas.
All right.
Love it. Awesome.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. I'm going to go walk from home.
Good night, Nancy.
All right, next is the section of the agenda where we will commence with the election of the chair. Is there a motion to nominate a chair?
I would like to nominate Paul Griffith as chair.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion on the table. There's a second. Is there any discussion or questions? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Election of the vice chair. Is there a motion to nominate a vice chair?
I move to nominate Dave Callahan as vice chair.
I'll second that as well.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Paul.
Good. Holding on to that one. So.
Put it in the fastest community. There you go. There you go, sir.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Congrats. All right. Okay.
Thank you. All right. So now we'll go ahead and get started by having a Pledge of Allegiance. So we do have a group of students from the Washington Street 3 to 5 tonight. The following students were nominated by their 4th grade teacher, Ms. Doherty, to represent the Washington 3 to 5 elementary school tonight. Washington Street 3 to 5 is currently engaged in an exercise to develop their core values that will shape who they want to be as people. What's extra special about students like Aubrey Beasley, Tori Gifford, Luke Weeks, Vera Panciocco, and Christopher Ortiz is that they're able to show up to school with their moral, social, and academic compasses pointed in a direction that can inspire the staff, families, and their peers. They also happen to be from the 5 former elementary schools in Franklin. Aubrey Beasley from JFK is a bright, hardworking student who's great at making new friends. Tori Gifford from Keller is a very attentive and invested learner who loves cheerleading. Luke Weeks from Oak is an avid reader of the Kingdom Keepers series by Ridley Pearson and a lover of axolotls. Vera Panciocco is a diligent and kind student who enjoys cheerleading and softball and is from Parmenter. And then Christopher Ortiz from Jefferson is an enthusiastic mathematician and lacrosse player. We're proud of these students and all the peers and families and staff they represent tonight from Washington 3 to 5. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And then, as is customary, we'll pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. All right. Y'all are welcome to stay. If you would like to head out, this would be perfect kind of break in the action for you to go ahead and do so.
Let's go. That was fast.
Yep. And the room's empty.
All right. Review of the agenda. Does the agenda look good to everyone?
Yep.
Payment of bills and payroll are both deferred to the next meeting. FHS student reps.
Yes, so for those of you who do not know me, I'm Jack Aldred. I'm the vice president of the senior class. Some news for the whole school. Any students who want to retake their school pictures, the retake day is on December 10th. This Friday, Franklin High is holding a blood drive for the Children's Hospital. People can sign up to donate on the FHS newsletter. Also, to all students who are interested in registering for the Seal of Biliteracy test, please refer to the newsletter. The FHS Theater Company is presenting their Mean Girls musical in the auditorium. I'm going to see it. The times are at 7 p.m. this Friday and Saturday, as well as 1 p.m. on Sunday. Additionally, students who are interested in the ASVAB test should sign up with Ms. Bellin in guidance no later than November 21st. As for sports, girls volleyball won the state championship against Newton North. Girls field hockey did make it to the finals, but they sadly lost to Walpole. Girls soccer plays tonight in the Final Four, but for any other winter sport, for winter sports, the registries are now open. Students can sign up before November 21st. For the senior class, the senior banquet is scheduled for April 10th. And for the junior class, they're holding a fundraiser with the Shed on November 26th for anyone who's interested. That's all.
Thank you very much. And then superintendent's report.
Okay, great, thank you. So Jack covered a few of the items that I'll add to some of the athletic highlights from our fall seasons and whatnot. First off, congratulations to our newly elected school committee members. We look forward as an administrative team to working with all of you to advance the mission of Franklin Public Schools, and thank you for either continuing or for taking up the responsibility of volunteering your time to help us lead this district. So thank you very much, and we're looking forward to that. Just to recap, we had our parent-teacher conferences were held on November 12th and 13th, and these were opportunities to make meaningful connections between our educators and our family, which is an important part of our programming, the home-school connection, and helping students supporting their progress across grades. As you heard, a few Franklin High School highlights that I wanted to share. One was about the WIN block. FHS has successfully launched the WIN block, which is a flexible period. It stands for What I Need, that provides students with targeted academic support, intervention, enrichment, and help and assistance in any variety of individual needs for students. So that's a flexible block. One thing that occurred during that wind block recently, in observance of Veterans Day, they were proud to host the Veterans Panel during wind block. The panel included FPS staff members and one of our parents, a Colonel Levesque, who was an FPS parent. Students were engaged and were able to attend this session. I was in the hall as well, speaking on that panel. There was over 100 students and many staff members who signed up and volunteered to be a part of that particular session, to hear each of the veterans talk about their experiences, their opportunities that they were given, and then allowed people and students to ask questions about that. And I want to thank Dr. Charles Fiddler, who is an FHS science teacher, who was the host of that event and organized it and created it. So I believe it had a meaningful impact, and that's just one small example, if you can imagine, of what can happen when you have a flexible block at any school, but in this case at the high school, which is something that we're seeing some of the value in addition to all the other academic interventions and check-ins that can occur for kids. Next, athletic fall highlight. This is typically the meeting where fall seasons have typically concluded. In Franklin, we typically are in a playoff run. Right now, it's 7-11. The girls' soccer team kicked off at 7 p.m., and I'm really interested to hear about how they do. But ultimately, I wanted to just give a little bit of a review. So first off, you heard the girls' volleyball team is the Division I state champions. They defeated Newton North on Saturday. And they also were the Hockomock Kelly Rex Division League co-champions. Girls soccer is playing now. I mentioned they're in the Final Four versus Concord Carlisle. The game is at Doyle Field. The winner of this game moves on to the state championship this upcoming weekend, and the girls were also the Kelly Rex Division League champions. That's our league within the Hockomock League division. Field hockey finished their season in the state finals. They lost 1-0 to Walpole in a hard-fought battle, and the field hockey team was the Kelly Rex Division League champions as well. On Thanksgiving, the football team will play in the Hockomock, play for the Hockomock Kelly Rex League Championship versus King Philip. That game is in Franklin this year. We alternate with King Philip every year. It's for home site. It's in Franklin this year. It's at 10 a.m. if you're interested and you're not preparing a turkey or something on that morning. And football also qualified for the state tournament as a number 9 seed, but lost to Leominster in the round of 16. Franklin Cheer, Hockomock League champions. They also were the South Sectional champions and will compete for the Division I state championship this upcoming Sunday at Worcester State. Franklin Boys Soccer was the Hockomock Kelly Rex Division League champions. They were also the 22 seed in the MIA Division I Boys Soccer State Tournament. They made it to the round of 16 where they lost to Framingham in a tough-fought battle. The golf team qualified for the MIAA Central Sectional Tournament. From that tournament, 2 of our golfers qualified for the state championship tournament that was held in Sandwich at the Ridge Club. The boys and girls cross country teams had strong seasons, both finishing near the top of the Kelly Rex division. Both teams competed in the MIA Division I championship held at Rentham Development Center, and many of our runners finished with personal best times. Finally, the FHS Blue and White Unified Basketball teams had a tremendous season, which concluded will conclude this upcoming Monday, the 24th, when they will host their charity game here at FHS to benefit the Kyle Cares Foundation. The team also competed in the Special Olympics Jamboree. In additional news, Franklin High is the recipient of the Boston Globe Dalton Trophy for the 24-25 school year. This is the 7th year in a row we've won that award. That is the winningest varsity program for boys and girls across the state, and we've had a lot of success in that area. Coach Carmine Colaci, Franklin's wrestling coach, who retired at the end of the 24-25 season, is recognized as the MIA Wrestling Coach of the Year. There will be a ceremony that will take place at the Coach of the Year banquet on December 8th. Moving on to FHS Theater Company, please join us in supporting the Franklin Theater Company. I was glad to hear Jack is planning to attend. They will produce Mean Girls, which is a musical, and there's 3 opportunities to see that play. The first is Friday night, Friday the 21st at 7 p.m., Saturday, November 22nd at 7 p.m., and on Sunday there's a 1 o'clock matinee available. You can go on our website or the GoFan app, which we use for a lot of the ticketing that we offer. You can download that app and you can purchase tickets through those ways. Finally, as we approach the Thanksgiving holiday, it's an ideal time to express my profound gratitude on behalf of the district. We thank our dedicated staff, our administrators, our families, and just for all the tireless efforts and work that's happened on behalf of the children and the work that's happening every day with our staff members and what we're providing to students for educational experiences. We also extend our sincere appreciation to the school committee, the wider community at Broad, and for their unwavering support. And please note that school will be in session on Monday and Tuesday of next week, with Thanksgiving, with the holiday break being from Wednesday to Friday. And I wish our entire community a peaceful and joyful Thanksgiving, however you celebrate that time off with family and friends. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So any questions from the committee? Steve, start with you.
I was just gonna ask, can we meet, I know our teams do so well, but it'd be good to see the volleyball team. I live near the high school, so like, when they came back, I was like, oh my God, there's an emergency. I mean, the police, like, the amount of sirens, and I'm always like, oh, it's just another team that won, like, so.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
good for
yes, thank you for reminding me. I didn't put it in my notes, but as is customary, when we have a state championship team, we invite them to school committee to be recognized. I've already put the request out to the athletic director and principal to connect with the coach and the team at our next meeting, which is December 9th. I'd like to invite them and any other champions if we're lucky to have any others. So thank you for the comment.
Yeah, no problem. Good talk.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. It's amazing what these kids are doing year after year. I also absolutely loved the pledge students that we had. It was what a great way to kind of kick off the term. You know, we got, you know, everybody, you know, from 5 different elementary schools now all under Mrs. Doherty's, you know, kind of classroom. It was spectacular. So kudos to the group that kind of put that together. And then with that GoFan app, so maybe like, and I can kind of, we can work together on this, but maybe at a future meeting, if we have a quick little like slideshow. This was something that was, Lucas just introduced it to me on what, Friday?
Oh, the Panther app.
The Panther app,
Yes.
yes,
Yep.
the Panther app. And so it's a great app, so you can easily kind of go and track, you know, the teams, the clubs, buy tickets, merch, a whole bunch of great stuff. So maybe if we can kind of include that, I think it might be great just to put more eyeballs on it.
So the the Panther app is an actual proprietary app. That's the Franklin Panther app for all, it's all Franklin activities. So it has theater, music, sports all in one, and you can see the schedules of anything that you're interested to see. In the Panther app, there's a link to the GoFan app. The GoFan app is where you would tie in for purchasing, like your a wallet, and you could purchase tickets. So it will send you to the GoFan app. So I don't want to overcomplicate it, but maybe there is a slide deck with a couple slides that we can show. But those two, I have those two tools. Sometimes I'll transfer a ticket to my daughter if she's going to a football game. She'll text and say, can you help me? And then I'll transfer it over and do it that way. So there's, those are two things that we can certainly put on a future agenda.
No comment. I'm going to see Mean Girls on Friday, so excited.
Yep, so thank you. Definitely a lot of great wins. Yeah, so once again, congratulations to the girls volleyball team. First in history, so that's definitely goes in the record book right there, so kudos to them. Always a lot of good stuff that's happening, you know, as my colleague said, Mean Girls this week. I think that's going to be fun to see, and just the talent of the students, which is great. One thing that I just wanted to just ask a question about, though. I know with redistricting had gone through a reorganization. There's a lot of changes. Have we heard any feedback from the families around parent-teacher conferences this year?
Yes, so I will say that some of the challenges with consolidating schools and creating larger schools and the schedule, some parents have voiced some concern to principals that have made their way obviously to us around, hey, are we having enough opportunities for families? And I think there's limitations to our ability to do that. That's something that we are looking into. But it did come up at a few of the schools just around wanting opportunities to engage. But ultimately, I think those are areas that we're continuing to look at and see how can we do these things and work with our principals, with our staff to try to figure out the best way. That's certainly not a reflection on a staff member or anyone's, everyone is willing to meet and communicate. We are very fortunate in Franklin to have the educators and the leaders that we have at our buildings, but certainly there was some scheduling challenges with getting a high number of people in to do that. So yes, that did come up and it's something that we'll continue to work through.
Okay, yeah, and it's expected. You know, this is the year of like just
It
figuring
is.
out what's
It
the
is.
new normal and like how do we change. So I think as long as folks know that they're being heard, we do have another parent-teacher conference later on this year, correct?
In the spring.
Yep. So we have time to kind of take the feedback and
Right.
see how we make any modifications. And then also when we do the schedule, so that's something to keep in mind as well.
And anyone who has reached out has been responded to, just so you know. Individuals who've reached out directly, like, you know, we have our communication kind of rules, and we try to say, share with the person closest to the issue. People have been really good about that and making sure that they voice their concerns to, but then ultimately that is an issue, I think, that's shared among our whole team. It shouldn't just fall to a teacher or a principal. I think it's something that we have to collectively look at, so certainly we are part of that. How can we help to create solutions that work for everyone? But there are trade-offs to everything, and I think landing this year, landing the plane and implementing all the decisions made every day. If you ask anybody who works for Franklin Public Schools, we're discovering things that you couldn't necessarily plan for 15 months ago. So certainly it's a good point. Thank you for asking.
Yep, thank you.
Reese?
Yeah, no questions. Congratulations to our teams.
Thank you.
Yeah, same for me. Appreciate all the information leading things off. So then moving along, guest presentations, we have none tonight. Discussion action items, we have one point to bring up. Lucas?
Yes, so I will kick it over to Dr. Rogers in 1 second, but just for the sake of the committee, and we have new members, we are in the second reading of a policy. Typically, what will happen is we have policy subcommittee that will meet. They will look at policies. Sometimes they're driven from changes in the Department of Education, MASC, which is the Massachusetts School Committees, Association of School Committees. A policy comes up for a variety of reasons of needing review. We then bring that to the policy subcommittee for review. We make recommendations at the end of those meetings. Sometimes those are solved in one meeting. Sometimes they take multiple meetings in the policy subcommittee to answer questions and get clarity. Ultimately, once they are endorsed by that subcommittee, they move and they're voted by the subcommittee to move to the full committee for a first read. That's an opportunity to read. If everything looks good, it's approved. Sometimes, like in this case, it could be approved with the caveat that by the second read, there may be some feedback that we need to tweak. That's what you'll hear today from Dr. Rogers. There was some information that if these things were clarified, I'm comfortable to vote this to move to a second read. You have 2 chances to vote on any policy. So we now have made some edits to this particular one that go in front of you, and ultimately it's not an official policy until the majority of the school committee votes to approve, and that's the stage we're at now. So just to kind of talk through that process, it's the policies that came in front of you at the first read last meeting, and they are the graduation requirements, policy IKF, and the competency determinations, which are IKFE. And Dr. Rogers, I'll kick it over to you to give a little bit of an explanation, and then I'll read the recommendation for them to take up a vote.
Sounds good. Okay, so the first policy before you, IKF, graduation requirements, is a policy that we currently don't have in your school committee policy manual, but is a standard MASC policy that many school districts have. So before you is some standard language that is in the draft MASC policy handbook. So ultimately, it speaks to the requirements for high school students to earn a diploma from Franklin High School. It points to oftentimes what you'll see in school committee policy is that we may point to, for example, the second line here will say, students must have earned a minimum credits and met the course requirements as per school committee approved Franklin High School program of studies and Franklin High School student handbook. So both of those separate handbooks come before you at different points in time as a committee, one in January-ish timeframe and one in August to approve. So you would be approving kind of the language within that. So this policy is just pointing to those other small p policies, not in your school committee policies. Here. So ultimately, that's what that first paragraph outlines. It points to those program of studies and student handbook, and then you'll note in the second paragraph there that we wanted to, well, and what's standard in MASC, but speak to any students that is seeking to earn credit for a foreign exchange program and being able to do a transcript review to ensure that should they receive credits in that type of opportunity, that we would have our internal systems to verify that coursework, and that coursework could be counted towards their graduation requirements. So that's what that second paragraph speaks to. Moving into IKFE, this is competency determination. So this was as a result of the vote taken last
October
ago. But that repealed MCAS as a competency determination, which is one of the ways a student would earn a diploma. So that then put the responsibility on local districts to then write a policy, as you kind of heard in your meeting prior to this, that we're required to do. So with this particular policy, if you should approve this policy, we would then be uploading this policy to the Department of Education too, and they would come back to potentially give us feedback on this policy. But ultimately, just to give you a bit of a background, so we have our local graduation requirements, which you approve in the Franklin High School Program of Studies and Student Handbook. Separate of that, students also have to fulfill a competency determination, and that is 2 measures. One measure is that students have to satisfactorily complete coursework. So that's outlined in our program of studies, and they have to earn a passing grade in that coursework. The second piece to that is that students must show mastery of coursework by successfully completing relevant coursework that's certified by Franklin Public Schools. So the teams within each department would identify what that relevant coursework is to complete, and by doing that, and here you'll see some underlined language here, this is where the modifications or edits came from the first read. These portions that, if you do approve this policy, won't be underlined when we post this policy to your manual, but we wanted to draw our attention to the feedback that was shared at the last meeting. So in this paragraph that says a student must show mastery, so they have to complete the relevant coursework that we identify. And then what we're saying here is that we are assuring that it meets the Massachusetts academic standards and curriculum frameworks. And then the feedback was to say, let's really draw our attention to what's that minimum requirement. And what we're saying is to earn proficiency there, a student must earn a minimum of a 60% in the identified coursework that each of those courses articulate. Moving to the next portions, MCAS only measured Algebra 1, Geometry, English 9, English 10, and 1 science class. So that's why these courses are what's outlined in the competency determination. Our graduation requirements are different. You might know, like, we have personal finance as a graduation requirement. That's not a competency determination. So it's just a measure of competency in these particular courses. So those are outlined here as well. And then you'll note, starting in the class of 2027, so next year's graduating class, will also have to determine competency in U.S. History 1 or 2. So the feedback from the last meeting that we had was a lot of those, the language where we say or, can kind of be confusing for folks to understand. So you'll note, I'll just read the example for English. In English language arts, students must satisfy at least one of the following, and then we delineate what those may be, but we've removed that or language that was there before. Okay? And then as you move to the following pages, and I'm happy to take questions, I won't read the policy in its entirety, but we were required to put in additional language around consideration. So that we offer free and appropriate public education to all students, regardless of disability, that there's an equal opportunity for the students to reach competency determination. Should a student be an English language learner, that we shall review on a case-by-case basis and determine the appropriate courses, which we currently do, for graduation requirements as well. And then we had to put in language formally. The Department of Education would oversee any student who was appealing, not meeting competency determinations because they didn't achieve an appropriate score on MCAS. So now that resides with the school district itself. And so we have to have a procedure in place, which we have procedures within our student handbook that we would align to. But ultimately, if a student or a family said we are appealing your determination and competency determination, or a prior, maybe didn't meet a benchmark for MCAS in a prior year, they could come to us and we would have to do a review to determine whether or not that student should have earned a competency determination. So a lot of that language is kind of outlined here. And I think at that point, I'll pause and answer questions you may have.
Can I just procedurally, I'd like to make the recommendation, entertain a motion, and then there's an opportunity to have questions and comments during it, and then you would take a vote there. So just know that by saying, I recommend it, and you accept that, you still have an opportunity to deliberate, and then take a vote on whether or not you've passed it. Does that make sense? So what I will do is I'll read this now, that I recommend the adoption of the following policy as discussed. And then is there a motion? And then open it up to discussion, questions. So take a first and a second motion.
Do we have a motion to follow the recommendation regarding policy's second reading adoption as discussed?
So moved.
Do we have a
Second.
second? Thank you. Discussion and questions? Stephen?
Yeah, thank you for the explanation. So now that we are going to be moving away from the MCAS, so what is the alternative option that we have for our kids, for children in the high school?
Sure, that's a great question. So MCAS is still a requirement.
Mm-hmm.
So our students still have to take MCAS. And there's accountability reporting alongside. You'll actually have a presentation in January around some MCAS data and accountability. As it relates to MCAS being the competency determination, that's what was removed. And now what we're saying as a district is if a student satisfactorily completes coursework and shows mastery, and that's going to be determined within this Algebra 1, English 9, and so on, we as a school district will determine the successful relevant coursework that a student needs to complete. And then as a district, we would say by doing those two measures, you have reached your competency determination. So in some subjects, there will be final exams. In some subjects, there'll be portfolios. So there'll be relevant coursework that will delineate whether a student reaches the showing mastery.
Thank you. And follow up on maybe not a question. So how do we accommodate the out-of-state students who are coming into the high school? How are we going to measure them or evaluate their skills for the graduation?
That's another really great question, and it's been a conversation that has been like in the circles of folks that we're talking about, other superintendents, assistant superintendents throughout the district. We currently, when a student enrolls at Franklin High School, we request documentation from that sending school. So it's transcripts, it's coursework, it's a multitude of information, and we do a review ultimately. And the team at Franklin High School particularly, we do this at all levels and all grades, but the team at Franklin High School will then do an audit or transcript review to say you've earned enough credits to be placed in this level of coursework. This is where you stand as it relates to high school graduation in accordance with Franklin High School policy and things. So we would handle it in the same way.
So is it going to be an internal review?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have no questions.
First, thanks so much for the work that's on this. I know this is something that we had a workshop right beforehand that Tracy from MASC was kind of talking about, so much movement and moving pieces as soon as the state kind of got rid of the impasse. So obviously, a lot of work went into this entire kind of process. And then now there's still more work to be done because it kind of goes up to DOE and then it has to kind of get reviewed and then back and forth. Is that right? And then with the competency determination, there's still that, you mentioned like there's like an appeal process and like a review process that the state used to handle.
Correct.
That we're now handling, the district is. And so with all of those changes that are kind of coming from the state, how much money has the state given to support those changes? Maybe Paula might be able to answer this one too.
Zero.
No.
Yeah. And so I think just kind of for the community, you know, it's even just small little things like this. You know, it's not necessarily that typical unfunded mandate that you might hear about with things like dyslexia screenings, you know, like curriculum changes, transportation. But it's all of this when you're wondering, you know, well, what's happening with the school budget? You know, these are things that didn't exist, that we didn't have to account for in, you know, line item 300, even just last year. And much less, you know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's a totally different environment, and the cost to educate today's students is just wildly different than what it was when you were in school. And again, you know, this is just one tiny little example. So Dr. Rogers, thank you very much. I really appreciate all the work that's going in here. You guys are doing a fantastic job. Thank you.
No questions, thank you.
So two things minor, so just a clarification. So if this gets approved, this would be effective for this year. And the only thing that would that wouldn't be applied across the board is the U.S. history, because that would be the class of 2027 graduating in 2 years.
Correct.
Okay, perfect, cool. And then I did notice, if you go to the section after that U.S. history bullet, it says for students in classes 2003, I think it's just some minor typos, or it says 2003 through 2026.
Oh. First paragraph
Yeah.
on page 4?
Yeah, yeah, thank you. There's.
Is it the
yeah.
dash?
Well, is it supposed to be?
Do we mean class 2023?
Yeah.
Instead of 2003?
Yeah.
MCAS began in 2003.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, so that's what it's referring to. Sorry.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
it's
Thank-
just saying that it's not a repeal in a
Okay.
way of earning competency if you had previously met the standard of competency.
Got it, okay.
But that dash definitely can be removed.
Okay, cool. Cool. Otherwise, thank you.
Reese?
Is the addition of the U.S. history requirement in 2027 a district initiative, or is that a state requirement?
It's a state requirement.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
And then from my end, you know, appreciate the changes. I think the language changes make things really clear, and those tweaks were pretty straightforward, and also the minimum value for determining mastery. I think it helps really provide that clarity that people are looking for. So I appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come in a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. So moving along, we have discussion-only items tonight. We have 3 of them.
Great, thank you. So there's 3 items tonight for discussion only. This is typically a portion of the agenda where you don't take a vote as a committee, but certainly we share information and answer and clarify for all of you as members, but also the community at large. The first is our inclement weather notice. This is an annual notice that we put out to all families. We would intend after this meeting to put that out to the school. You gonna fire that up, or?
No.
Okay. We will send this out, and basically, I just want to talk through a little bit about school closure and how this all happens. I think it's a good review. Every other year on an off cycle, we've had the Department of Public Works. You may recall last year, Brutus came with his crew to share a little bit about from their perspective. We'll probably continue that on an every other year basis, just to kind of talk that through. But just to let you know, obviously we live in New England. There are challenges, and it's not a perfect science when you deal with school closure. The news can sensationalize things and sometimes make it seem worse than it is, and other times they don't draw enough attention, and then in the morning it can be tough. So I think we do our best to make, well, I do my best, I have to own this one, to make the best decision I can on behalf of all of your children and my own, for the record, to make that happen. So it's really important that families understand how this process works, so we will share this out. Ultimately, I make the decision. I do consult with the DPW early in the morning, the night before, to get a sense of what are the roads like. One thing that news doesn't often talk about is road temperature. That plays a huge role. If road temperatures are above 32 degrees, that's a game changer when it comes to whether or not school can close, because it has to do with the whether or not the road itself is freezing. That's part of the puzzle. We do monitor weather forecasts. I'm also part of the Precision Weather. It's a paid service where we have really accurate weather forecasting, and there's multiple accounts. It's short money, but it's been very valuable. The assistant director actually lives in Franklin, and who is one of the people who is forecasting for many districts and towns that have that service. The DPW, Highway Department, and police also look at the road conditions and help me with that decision. The safety of our students is the #1 priority when we consider whether or not to either cancel school or delay school. Oftentimes an hour or 2-hour delay, depending on the timing of a storm, can make a huge difference in our ability to clear lots and get people in safely. That's what it's ultimately about. So we do have to consider that type of information when the snow starts to accumulate and when it ends. Predictions for later on in the day, what's expected, parking lot conditions, building conditions, and whether there's power and heat, and wind chill. And those are all things that we consider as that decision's made. We typically try to notify families before 5:30 a.m. That's when buses start firing up and get rolling. So before routes take off, we try to make that known. There are occasions where it can be called the night before, but that's not always the case. And we found that weather systems can move in funny ways, and there's no good way. If you had no weather and you called school, people are upset. If you had weather that was bad and you had school on, that's another issue. So I think it's about trying to make the best informed decision we can with the information that I have at that moment. And ultimately, families are directly notified via our email and our text messaging to make sure that we get those alerts out. It's also posted out to the news agency, so that it's on the ticker at the bottom of the screen. Ultimately, families should have received a test communication from the district, from Denise Miller, who puts out a test to make sure people are receiving. We're working on some static groups now, folks who don't have a student enrolled but should be part of that chain. So we're working through some of those pieces as well. Steve, I see you over there. We're working on that. So when there is no school called, it's really based on, we believe these conditions are sufficiently severe enough that it's not in the best interest of students to have school and staff members to drive. People come from different communities across the region to attend and work in our schools, but ultimately we try to do that. These aren't decisions that you take lightly, because you want to have as many school days as you can, but you need to do it safely. So with that said, if there's a no school announcement, parents are notified, and all classes and school activities are canceled for that day. That's just typically how that's worked. The day is made up later in the year, as is required by the state. For delays, if the conditions are almost safe or the highway department just needs some extra time to clear roads, we can't shorten the school day. You do not have to make those days up. If you have a 2-hour delay, those count as a day of school. It's just a delayed start. And ultimately what that means is an announcement is made similarly to how we do cancellations, no school. Instead, it would be a 2-hour delay. So you basically look at the start time of your school and you just push it out by 2 hours, your whole routine for that morning. Lunch is served at the regular times or around that time, and we just can't guarantee we'd serve the previously advertised menu. You can see how this has developed over 3 or 4 years. I have to add things as things come up. Yes, ECDC does get canceled when we have a 2-hour delay. They start at 9 a.m. as it is. It would mean 11, and then it doesn't work.
Messed up.
It doesn't work. The vans then intersect with our...
we tried.
We've tried. That covers that. And on the rare occasion where an early dismissal is needed, these are done very rarely. that's a huge disruption to not only the school system, students and staff, but to families. If you are at work and if we call an early dismissal and it disrupts the afternoon coverage, particularly for our youngest learners who need an adult home, that's something that we try not to do. We try to look at the day and look at what makes the most sense. Has it happened on occasion? We have done some expedited boarding where we know we can avoid a storm if we can get kids staged, because the bus might take longer to get home, but if we get it on the road, it might still be about the same time as at the bus stop delivery. But other than that, we really try not to do that. In many districts, I mean, we're unified. I'm part of like a superintendent block where we communicate throughout the morning, 3:30, 4:30 in the morning. We're all group texting. Mrs. Morrow's husband's on that group text. And ultimately, we're deciding, like, what are we all doing? You may see a town cancels, and you're like, why is Blackstone canceling but Franklin's not? That's not that far away. There could be a lot of reasons for that. It could be about their ability to get plow drivers. It could be their ability to clean streets, and they might have more roads that are unplowed typically. So there's like a host of reasons, but ultimately we try to look at, particularly I try to look at like our direct neighbors and kind of see what's happening across the board, and we try to look at the factors. Ultimately, each town makes their own decision, and I never judge. Now that well, maybe I did when I was a teacher. I don't judge anybody. Anyway, so that's how that works. Cancellations, as we said, are all handled differently for the ECDC. The other thing is the ECDC principal will email directly to her families after the fact. If a broad message goes out, individual messaging starts to go out in a variety of ways. So the high school might send their half-day or their 2-hour schedule so kids know what to expect. I don't get into that detail because I want to get the whole community to know the deal, and then the principal follows up with like, hey, dear FHS students, this is the deal for today. This is what the plan is. This is how we're going to operate. I'll then just end on final note, sidewalks. Oftentimes, the priority is clearing the roads across towns when they do that. The second priority is clearing sidewalks. They do their best. We do have emergency bus transportation. Any student who is out on a route, the bus on a day like that, they're communicated, they will pick up a student. Even if it's the wind chill issue, they'll pick up a student so that no one has to try to navigate through unplowed sidewalks to get to school. And those are students maybe who previously walk or are driven or whatnot, but we try our best to make sure that we put kids. It could be tight, but it's about community and trying to get kids to school safely. And on those particular days, that's when we put in the emergency busing. Power outages sometimes impact our ability to have school, so there are occasions where we might have school in the district, but one school may be canceled because there's no power or there's some issue where just the way a storm works or a system comes through, and we might say that every school is operating except, whatever, enter school name. We've had it happen in the past. It happened at Parmenter, I believe, 2 years ago, where we had to cancel due to some electrical issues due to storms, and they had to make up those days at the end of the year. So other schools got out a day earlier than and then, like I said, we have 180 days that we're accountable for to the state for all students. That's what we follow and make sure that happens. And then ultimately, safety is first and foremost. If families are struggling to navigate their ability to get kids in school on time, even with a delay, on those types of days where I'm calling a 2-hour delay, if families communicate directly with their school about any challenges they're having, schools are more than willing to work with people like, hey, I'm trying to get them there, I'm having some trouble. I had my own power outage and I'm trying to navigate that and it's hard for me to get them. It would be understood as long as people communicate and do their best to try to reach out via phone, via email, some way to communicate with the school so that they know. So even with my decision making, you might have to make a decision as a family based on your circumstances. We just ask that you communicate with your school directly about that. And this will go out. We will talk about weather predictions are uncertain in New England. However, what we can predict and guarantee is we will get snow in New England. That's a definite. It's about when it will happen, how often. I'm going to save them from my spiel. I've been doing a lot of work on like what is the seasonal forecasting. So I've been down the rabbit hole on YouTube. I've gone to depths. I'm not going to do it. I won't. But there's a lot happening. There's a lot of factors that could impact the season.
very concerned.
I am. But I think we'll just take this a storm at a time, and I'll stop there. And I'm happy to answer any questions for the group at this time.
All right, this time we'll start with Reese.
No questions, Raina, thank you.
Al?
Yep. So are we expecting the Jagir Almanac coming up?
I think I heard this room there. Are they discontinuing the almanac? Did I hear that? I think I might have to wedge myself in there. Do you want to get in on that, Steve? The two of us?
I'm not a forecaster, I'm a reporter.
I could use your help.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, I don't envy you for that job. Regardless of what decision you make, people are going to be upset. You know, I wanted a snow day, I didn't want a snow day, so, you know, kudos and fingers crossed that we don't have to worry about that because school ends June 18th this year, and I'd rather have this, as my son says, I'd rather have a Sunday versus a snow day, so.
That's a good point.
Yes.
No question.
Yeah, I hope there's no snow again because I know that the guys at the DPW save a lot of money for the town. So that'll help come budget hearing time, so. But it doesn't sound like that. I don't know. You make me nervous.
Well, I'm gonna hope reserve those comments and I'll scare everybody. It might be just me, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm aware of this whole messaging part. One question I had was on the early dismissal, right? So just in case if you're not able to reach the parent, so what is the backup plan for the children to safely go back home or to, or to make them stay until the
And this is why we do this very, very rarely. It'd have to be a real situation that we needed to early dismiss. And it might not be snow related. It could be, the school's not functioning. But typically what we'll do is communicate as early as possible about any type of decision. We reach out directly through the school as well on schools is what we're intending and what the plan would be, timing. And then we try to work with families directly on, is anyone home? Is a neighbor home? And we let parents kind of decide. And then if we have no ability, what we would have to do is keep certain students at the school until they were able to be picked up, depending on the scenario. And it's actually the age and development. So a high school kid who's senior in high school will be dismissed and would be communicated. But we have some students that are our youngest kids who we wouldn't drop off on any given day without knowing that an adult's there to receive them. So I think it really comes down to being really situational about that. So like I said, we try not to do that. And I think it does we recognize that it does cause a huge disruption. And sometimes it's often safer to stay in the school until we're ready to get you on the road and with the buses. And the one thing I will say, I'm glad you asked this question because the DPW has been really good and partners with us on plowing and salting right before our dismissal. So if you ever have to do an errand and you're working from home, if you hit the road at around 1:45, it's more than likely that they've done some prep work, run a plow, done salt. And that's in the past when they've had the resources and time to do that. I can't guarantee that that's how it will be moving forward, but they've been really thoughtful around like, okay, parents, buses all hit the road for the morning commute, and then also in the afternoon when kids are dismissed. So, thank you. You're welcome.
Oh. I'm good.
Something else with you?
No. Sorry, thought I was going this way. I'm just tired.
And I just wanted to call attention again to the policy around picking up any student found along the way. This is something that I think is very important for parents to recognize. In addition to the fact that use your own judgment, we try to do the best for everyone, but we're not, if there are extenuating circumstances, definitely make sure we communicate. But any of the students that are seen by a bus along the route anywhere, we are going to do our best to make sure that they're getting safely to school and facilitate that, especially in those kind of days. So thanks again for calling that out. And let's make sure we remind folks as we get close to whatever ends up coming, according to YouTube.
Yes, we can do that for sure. Thank you. Okay. All right, next in your agenda, you'll notice in your packet and on your online packet, we provided these materials. These are also posted publicly. They are the district improvement goals and the superintendent goals. So we did present on this prior with the previous committee. We did that on September 9th, I believe. and shared a pretty in-depth presentation on that. That said, it was a request of some incumbent school committee members that should we review just the big ideas of this. I've also, at the time that was asked of me, since then, I offered individual meetings, and every one of our new school committee members took me up on that offer, and I was able to actually meet and review the school improvement goals and whatnot. So I feel as though we're up to speed, but just for the sake of the agenda and to be transparent and kind of stick to our agenda, I just want to highlight a couple of things. So if you could put that on, Dr. Rogers, just to point out so that we're on the same page and we follow through with what our agenda says. So just as that's firing up, this year marks an important milestone for Franklin Public Schools. As you are all very keenly aware, we have done a major reorganization and ultimately has led to us unifying many of our schools in a variety of ways, but also working to look at our systems, our structures, bringing our educators together and leaders around some of the calibration and alignment instructionally, and finally, opportunities for enhanced communication. The reason it's enhanced is because it's kind of like working out. You're never actually, I've communicated effectively and it's done. There's always new information to share, so I think it's something that's a continuum as we continue to look to move forward. So if you could just scroll on, I'm going to skip the executive summary. It's all about the 4 goals. These are them. So ultimately, and we just had a great meeting this morning at Franklin Middle School around the multi-tiered systems of support, and we met with the entire leadership team, including our team, Paula, Tina, myself, Eric Stark, Elizabeth Morrison, Jen Graveline. We're all there, and we met to talk about systems. One of the comments that stuck with me in that meeting was one of the assistant principals said, you know, bringing people together, like it can't be understated that we have all these new people that are forming new teams, and they are learning to trust each other through, trust is built over a series of interactions. So like everything they had on the agenda and the work that they want to do, you can't sell short that people need to actually get to know each other a little bit. I think that would apply to a school committee as well. The more you get to know what's the process and know each other, I think the better the benefits. So there's been a real concerted effort to make sure, and that's just one example. If you think of teams of teachers, like a grade level of 3rd grade teachers coming together for the first time that taught, students coming together, and I think that's where we've looked to really strengthen community and teams and build that out. And teams has so many different, that's a word that has so many different variations to it, so teams can exist at a variety of levels, and they do, and we've really put a lot of effort. This document, the district improvement plan, as you progress through it, you would see in each of the schools, each of the areas, kind of how they're instilling and trying to really work on being intentional about belonging and establishing new communities that they're working on. The second is building coherent systems and structures. This area, one thing I think we are interested to do is we're going to have all new data sets because we're bringing together new students in new formations. So as we've built out, like the MTSS meeting today was about how are we setting up those systems to collect and gather new data on the new amalgamation of students under the Franklin Middle School. It's no longer 3 middle schools that we're looking at that data. It's like how are we looking at this collectively across 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So the systems and structure are actually going to help us get to the data conversations, and you'll hear about some of that in January. But ultimately, that's what's helping us build the system, so that when we share information and say, here's a stat, here's some information, and we want to increase this and improve it, we'll have the mechanisms then to say, this group is monitoring it, and this is how we're implementing it. So I'm big on systems, and I feel like they're important to the bigger picture, and that leads me into the next goal, which is around instructional practices. You have multiple teachers from multiple schools coming together, and really we try to nail down what are the must-dos and the can-dos. So the must-dos are, what are the shared experiences that if you are sending your 3rd grade child to school, no matter where they go, whatever teacher they have, what's a guaranteed and viable learning experience that every 3rd grader should have, so when they move to 4th grade, that's consistent, 6th grade, 9th grade, whatnot. And then there's obviously what makes school so special is how each individual teacher connects with their children, their students, and works with them and has that autonomy. And each school is starting to develop their own sense of belonging in their schools that's appropriate to them. And it's really based on the human beings that work within it. Finally, I talked about communication, but this is a continued area that we want to look to share clear, timely information that's transparent and concise, and that's an ongoing effort that we'll continue to work with all of you on, because as we heard today in our workshop, I think we all have a stake in communication with our community in some form or fashion, no matter what our role is. So that's just kind of the big idea of those four and where they came from, and they're all based on some really big decisions that were made from the previous school committee into your roles now as serving on this committee, and I think as our work as a district. If you move forward, it goes through goal alignment. You can keep moving, Dr. Rogers, because I don't want to recreate but I think what I'd like to point out is, if you go to the teaching and learning for me for a minute, every single cost center, every single department, school has goals, has outcomes, has evidence, and has criteria for success that you'll see in here. This is directly linked to the superintendent goals as well. One of the pieces of feedback was around the data that I didn't have in my specific goals. In previous years, I think that was much more targeted. This year, what I ended up doing, if you look at your packet, I extrapolated out the district data measurements across HR, school business, each school, and tried to pull it into where it aligned with my goal. My goal is to support the district and the system at large, but I heard you, and I want to make sure that I pulled out and kind of surfaced the data that I expect from each of these departments that they're accountable to, not just me, but to each other. And then also I'm accountable to the community and to you all as well. So I think the through line, we heard from the workshop today, there should be alignment between what the district goals are, what my goals are, what the school goals are, and whatnot. And this document has all the district and school, and you'll notice in the version that I put in your folder, I added some metrics that you could expect for my evaluation and kind of the goals of the district. So I hope that's helpful. I'm happy to talk about that at any other time if you prefer, but I wanted to make sure I just give a little bit of time to Dr. Rogers, Ms. Malati, and Mrs. Morano, just to hit the highlights of their goals from their departments as they're here.
Sure. So I think you'll see, as Mr. Jagira said, a lot of overlap between departments, and I would say especially Student Services and Office of Teaching and Learning, we share a lot of similar goals because our goal is to support all students. So you might hear some overlap, I think, in what we'll say, but I'll just share from an Office of Teaching and Learning, there are 4 goals specifically. So when we talk about community, we are working to establish and support collaborative professional learning communities. So this looks in varying aspects. So there's common professional time, there's departmental common planning time, there's departmental meetings, there's MTSS meetings, there's IST meetings. All of these acronyms are in here, but we really work with our curriculum leaders, who I'm excited that you'll have an opportunity to meet in January because they do some tremendous work. But we work with a variety of folks, teachers and support staff and counselors, and it runs the gamut to make sure that folks have, there's never enough time, but that we're really trying to be keenly aware of the time that we spend together to make sure folks are establishing those teams, but also being data-driven in those conversations that they have, and that we're making decisions based on data. So that's part of that goal there. That flows into the systems piece. I think we have one of our literacy specialists sitting here in the audience, but I would say our teams have worked really hard over the years to develop a multi-tiered system of supports. So just a brief, from a tier 1 perspective, we have worked tremendously hard to implement guaranteed and viable curriculum for every student in every grade. High quality, standards are aligned. Every student has access to that. And then what we've done in the past few years, the Student Services, Office of Teaching and Learning, and folks in the buildings have worked to really develop what is that tier 2. So if a student needs a little bit of boost or a little acceleration, or what does that look like, in being able to compile, track that data, things like that. So meetings are happening, data is being collected, systems are in place, so that kind of speaks to that goal. From an instructional standpoint, you may have heard of another acronym around UDL, but universally designing our learning experiences for students. Not all students learn the same way. And so making sure that we have that high quality, those resources in the room, but then we as educators have the opportunity and autonomy to universally design and adapt those instructional resources to meet the needs of the learners who are in front of us. And then lastly here is our communication goal, which is specific to Office of Teaching and Learning, where we're working behind the scenes to start to build out our website to make curriculum far more visible on our website, but also we've been sending monthly communications out to the community, the Franklin Public Schools. We're starting there with that population of educators. I hope it's well received. There's a lot of information every month, but we'll certainly be able to share some of those newsletter resources with you along the way, but trying to open that line of communication on a regular basis with educators within our district.
And as Tina said, in regards to student services, we're really looking at, working with our special educators on instructional practices, making sure we are, focusing on student needs and using and talking the UDL language, because just because a student is on an IEP doesn't mean that the UDL accommodations and systems don't work for that, right? They're getting that tier 3 support, so making sure though that they have all those options with assessment and with demonstrating their learning and whatnot. So we're looking at that. We're calibrating our data. So yes, special educators are really good about collecting data. However, let's calibrate that a little bit, making sure we're collecting the same data and we're showing growth over time, and working with our general educators as well as making sure we're using their data and including that in our IEPs, because that's very important with the new IEP process. Additionally, in the student services realm, we're looking at our investigation processing, making sure that all of our administrators are following an investigative process in the same process, making sure we're communicating effectively with parents about the outcomes of those investigations and aligning our practices, but also looking at what the next step is after the investigation, making sure we're talking about restorative practices across the levels as well. And that's our approach.
Okay. From the business and finance department lens, we are focused on building systems that promote clarity, consistency, and strong support across all cost centers by providing training for all cost centers to ensure they fully understand the expectations and the available tools, establishing regular communication through monthly check-ins and open office hours, offering real-time support throughout the budget cycle to address issues proactively, delivering standardized budget training and templates, supporting timely, complete budget submissions with aligned narratives, and increasing transparency in financial decision-making and budget development. Do you want me to provide a quick overview of operations?
You are on a roll.
Okay. Operations department, I touched base with Colin Boisvert, the director of operations. It's currently focused on improving our systems and its structures. They are working closely with the facilities departments just to update maintenance and improvement plans now that all staff are settled into their new spaces. Transportation is also in the process of standardizing with an improved registration process coming next year through Link Connect. These priorities directly connect our goals around system coherence, allowing instructional priorities to thrive.
I would add also the facilities rental and usage.
Yeah.
He's implementing some plan. We've had a kind of an antiquated system there where it's been submit a form, wait to hear back. Is it available? Is it not? He's actually, Colin is, I see him online now. He's actually at the JPCC introductory meeting we had to kind of overview the year. He did reference that he is looking to pilot with them on an online availability. So the user could select what they see to be available so they know up front, and then make that part of, and then require some of the requirements ahead of time so that we're not doing a lot of back and forth. That's another bandwidth and kind of not a good use of time. And I think the question on everyone's mind is, well, what's available? I don't know how to, so if they can have access to at least see what's available. So there's a lot more to that. Colin will provide an update. Every one of these departments will share an update with you in the second half of the year on progress made, and ultimately, that will be part of, usually we do that right before I share so that it's tied together and you get a sense of he said that, but oh yeah, I did hear evidence of that, and I saw that at a previous meeting from a departmental update, so. Same thing with human resources, onboarding systems. We've had some antiquated systems that we're looking to update, and Mr. Storlazzi is working with our admin. He surveyed them to get a sense of what's working, what's not on that process to streamline it, and I think you'll hear some progress on that throughout the year as well. Anything else to add on that?
No.
Just before I just say that each school, I'm not going to go through each school improvement plan, but ultimately those 4 goal areas is what they all focused on. So you can see in there the ECDC, Lincoln K-2, 3 to 5, Washington K-2, 3 to 5, the high school and the middle school are all in there, and their goals are in there, and they're very aligned as far as what was expected. We spent a lot of time on this because we saw the value, and I think this work has really helped influence the decisions we've made as a district to move forward. So thank you for approving those when you did. It was early. I think in moving forward, we want to do those in that first September meeting because it's more authentic. I can remember a time where years ago where these goals weren't even approved until November, but you've already kicked the year off, so it feels a little bit like we should have been already starting. So I think authentically, it's good to get that moved to where we moved it. Same thing with budget, doing that when we did. That was a lot to move, but I think it makes more sense to have those conversations earlier. So I think we've changed a couple of timelines that have served us, and I think we can pause there and certainly answer any questions that you have or follow up on anything. But you can't expect that everything in here that you approved, you will get updates from different departments throughout the year.
Appreciate it, thank you. Reese, any questions or comments?
Yeah, so I'm looking through the success criteria for a lot of these, and I notice a lot of them have very measurable things, a lot of percentages there, which is great. I'm noting, as you just mentioned, some of these goals, some of these checkpoints have passed, right? Like the October and November goals at ECDC, for example. So given that, I'm wondering how things are going there at ECDC. Have we hit those October and November checkpoints for arrival, dismissal, and so forth?
It's a good question. I can't speak specifically to what Ms. Taylor would say. She's actually at the soccer game right now, giving me some updates. Franklin's up 1-0, but there's still a lot of time left, so don't count your chickens. But what I would say is my own observations are that parents have learned. She will share an update with you later, but I can tell you that goal, I believe she's well underway. Those dismissal routines are really good. And I think our expansion, because we were fitting a lot of students at Oak Street, there were challenges there with some of the ability to drop off and pick up and kind of all converging. Now that we've been able to expand and have our K-ready pre-K students at Pond Street and our earliest, youngest learners at Oak Street, I think we've kind of taken the pressure off of having it so jam-packed at the same time at Oak Street. So I would say yes, and she can definitely speak to that and validate that comment, but that's a very good question.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Al?
No questions, just a quick comment and kudos. I mean, this is just great work that your team does just to get things together so folks can understand, where we're going to, what we want to accomplish. And I just look forward to see the work that's completed from this, especially hearing the sneak peek of what Colin is doing. I know that's been a pain point for many, many years. So how do we become more efficient and spend our time benefiting the students as best as we can? So thank you.
Colin, did you hear that online? He's on. Okay.
No questions. This is very cohesive, and I think it's great because we can, go through each action item and, check it off and make sure that we're following through on everything that we've laid out on. So I think it's great.
Thank you.
And again, just kind of for those at home, it's a 30-page document that, again, if you're kind of questioning, like, what does the public school system look like today? Because it is different from when we were in school. This does a fantastic job. It breaks down all the different departments, the different schools, what they're actually looking to get accomplished, and what they have to do. So it's fantastic. And just to confirm, you did say it's posted in the agenda and also right online as well?
It's on About Us, and you'll see a section called Improvement Plans, and if you click into that link, you can find the district improvement plan, along with any other resources that we have on that. I can't remember what else is in there, but yes, you can.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a great resource, so highly recommend checking that out.
Yeah, I don't have questions. It's clear to me a lot of thought went into this, so, great work, and if we can accomplish this is great work, great goals. So, yeah, no questions.
Stephen?
Yep. So, I mean, it's a great work, like, the superintendent goal has been translated into very detailed goals with respect to schools and everything, so it's perfect. I can see a lot of the outcomes with respect to numbers. So my only question is, like, is there a way we can get some KPIs to measure this? The reason is not to measure, actually, the reason is to see how many of them are getting impacted because of the budget. Like, hey, we wanted to do this, but we are not able to do because of certain reasons, and we are going to offset for the rest of the year. So that will help us to see how are we progressing. At the same time, why are we not progressing? That would be helpful.
So during those updates,
Yes.
To provide real clarity on which goals are, where we are with the goals, and what's the reason that they're not progressing, and
Yeah.
it could be, to your point, yes. So as we do, I see some notes being taken, but what we will do is we'll prepare for whoever is sharing an update from their respective school or department that they're sharing progress on goals. Obviously, part of that discussion is why they're successful or why they're not. And, there is the possibility that not every single goal is met, but we want to be as honest and transparent. I also know this morning, we talked about one of the goals could become a goal next year to continue, because it's just not completely done. It's not completely done. So I think that those will be thoughtfully explained and decided, but that's a good comment, and certainly we can make sure that happens.
That's my question as well. Like, most of them are 100%, and the timeline is what I'm assuming is next year, right? But it is not. Some of them are going to be a little longer. So if we have that clarity, that'll be really helpful.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, Reese?
No further questions.
And then from my end, I really appreciate the updates for your own goals. This information is very deep, and I'm glad the community has access to it, but also just looking at kind of the breadth of what you're responsible for and having it really clearly enumerated here, I think is going to be very helpful, especially as we go through the evaluation period. Where the community might ask, all right, we have 4 goals. What is it that actually counts as achieving them? I think, anyone who watches those subcommittee meetings sees it as very detailed. There's a lot of information that goes into it, but having it all listed out here, each one of these pages, just how complex the role is to kind of get everything done and to really achieve each one of these goals, I think is going to be very helpful for the community, so I appreciate that.
It's a lot of data, and I think what it will be is I will be pulling it together I did this last year, but make it as cohesive as possible so that there's a sequence to it, and then because there's a lot of data to report out on, but ultimately, it was already there. I didn't create new information. It was what was embedded in a lot of the work of the department, so I will certainly work to make that happen.
Excellent. Any other questions? All right, moving on.
Okay. Thank you. Next is a quarterly report. So we're members of 2 collaboratives, the Bi-County Collaborative and the Accept Collaborative. A collaborative is a school that educates students that have similar needs in special education, and there are times where we make decisions as a district on whether or not we have multiple options to our choices. And Mrs. Morano oversees the whole system here. Ultimately, we can educate students in special education in our classrooms, our inclusion classrooms, general ed setting, with a special education liaison, where they can be educated every day and go to school. We have specialized programs that have been developed at every level that allow us to educate students within the district in specialized programs based on their needs with educators that we hire and have, and they're housed within our school buildings. The third layer is collaboratives. These are, collaboratives exist where we become a member district, and it's an out-of-district placement, but it's done within a collaborative where they service students from a geographically similar community. How am I doing so far?
Okay.
Okay. So geographically located.
I'm almost ready, I'm ready.
We're a collaborative, and then we can service, Franklin, Medway, all the way to Natick, and we're gonna have, and service those students. And then the next layer is some private special education schools for students who have specific needs that just cannot be met in a public school environment. And those are, that's the other layer. So we have a system that's just hitting on all of these levels. So the collaborative, we are a member. I am on the board of directors. I play a similar role as a school committee member for the board of directors for BICO, which is the Bi-County Collaborative. They're housed out of Walpole. They used to be right across the way there. You can see the building. They've moved to Walpole, and Accept Collaborative, which is located in Natick. And those are two, we are one of the few that I know of that are a member of both. I know we're the only district that's a member of both of those. Some might do other collab, but we do those too. So we're represented there, and when you're a member, you get a discounted rate on any tuition that happens there. It's a matter of just attending.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Okay. The other things that the collaboratives provide for us is professional development, consultation, Accept also has transportation, which we don't, because we have our own transportation. So there's other services and that they provide to us to help us as member districts as well. And I also serve on the special education board and one of their programming subcommittees. So
We used to house Bi-County Collaborative in our middle school. So they had an alternative middle school. We rented space to them. When we consolidated, that was one of the things that we could no longer fit them in our middle school. They moved to a different district. Those are opportunities that exist if we find ourselves in a position where we have the space. The trick is with a collaborative is you need to make sure that you have their program needs to be housed in a school that has the similar age students. So you can't put an alternative middle school in an early childhood center. They need to go to a school where age appropriate, like students go.
so that they can have those opportunities of going into gen ed classrooms, participating in the cafeteria and whatnot as well.
Right, and they previously rented space at Annie Sullivan Middle School when we had Annie Sullivan. And ultimately, when we consolidated, because we put 3 middle schools into one at the Franklin Middle School, which is Oak, Horace Mann previously, that's where we had no room to house them. So that's what happened. There are always opportunities that can come up. We will continue. We're both in our respective boards. Should programming change, should we have space, we always entertain that. That's not a no, and we have really good relationships with our collaboratives and our directors and whatnot. But just wanted to kind of point out how that works. And so all of that said, I won't ever do another long-winded thing on collaboratives, but ultimately they provide quarterly reports. These are included. You'll see these in your for discussion only. And basically they're just providing an update as accountability to every district. And we put that in your packet for you to read. And then in the future, what I'll do is we will cover it as an agenda item. If you have questions, I'm happy to try to answer. If I can't, I'll do my best to get the answer for you and share it with you at a later time. But that's how you'll see these. If you're wondering, like, wow, BICO's in there, Accept's in there. That's the whole understanding for all of you. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions?
Questions? Steve?
No questions.
Ruth-Ann?
No, okay.
Dave? Nadia? No?
No.
Reese?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Go for it.
So I want to make sure I understand correctly that these collaboratives are options for students who have special education needs that we cannot meet in district, and then they can attend Accept or Bi-County Collaborative.
Correct, and they're considered public day placements.
Okay. And I think I understood that you said our enrollment or our membership in these collaboratives gives us discounts on tuition when we have to send students out of district.
Correct.
Can you give a kind of general comparison of what it costs to educate a child in special education within district versus sending them out of district?
I can, but unless you stay tuned for my December 9th?
December 9th.
The December 9th, I'll be doing a whole presentation on it, and I have a whole slide about it. As well as I just recorded a podcast with Mr. Sherlock as well. So I'd be happy to, but if you want to hold till December 9th.
You don't want to make the presentation right now.
I have it ready. It's almost ready. It's just I have a little more work to do. But I promise I will answer that question on December 9th.
Very good. And I also wanted to ask, how many students are we currently sending out of district?
Out of district, according to the October 1 count, it was, I believe, 69. I might be off by 1 or 2.
And are all of those students being serviced by one of the 2 collaboratives?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Seeing no other questions, I think we can proceed. So moving on, information matters. We're going to do this just a little bit differently tonight. I believe we're going to have a quick kind of rundown of the different subcommittees and liaisons that we have, because we don't actually have anyone on any of them at the moment, so we don't have any reports. Traditionally, we would be having updates from each one of the subcommittees and or liaisons that have met with their respective groups at this time to kind of bring everything forward. So at this time, Lucas, please proceed with giving us an idea of what people are signing up for.
Sure. So just so for process, I'll just review these quickly. You also have this in your packet to refer to if you need to look back on it. Ultimately, you'd want to express interest on these subcommittees to the chair. The chair of the school committee appoints subcommittee members and appoints the chairs of those subcommittees. So that's, or a liaison, as we'll talk about. So just know that you'd want to express your interest to Paul to make sure that he's aware of what your interests are, and then you would communicate with Denise Miller and me so that we can set it up. We post it on the website, and we share it. So just to do an overview, we put this together and we updated the website today to just talk through. First is Budget Subcommittee. Many of you are familiar. I've seen some of you tuned in over time in the Budget Subcommittee, but ultimately this is the group that reviews the budget ahead of the full school committee. So Mrs. Malati prepared an initial presentation a few weeks ago.
October 28th.
Thank you, October 28th, where she shared kind of an overview. I did share that in our individual meetings as well. That's all posted online as well. But ultimately, we find those to be very valuable because we get great feedback from a small subset of the school committee, so that when we go to present to the school committee, we have had a chance to get eyes on it and kind of talk through what's missing, what would be helpful to clarify, and whatnot. So those have been helpful to kind of bring things forward, and that's an area where it meets monthly at least during the budget season, but it's ultimately as determined by superintendent and the chair whether it needs to meet more frequently. But that's a budget season mostly, and the budget season's very long, so it's pretty much monthly. But anyway, just that I would point that out. Next is community relations and school public advocacy. So this is a group that reviews communication within the community. How is the school committee getting messaging out in a way that engages the community for support, shares information, and ultimately is advocating on behalf of Franklin Public Schools to get the message out. That is typically met monthly, and there has been a newsletter assigned to part of that group as well, that they're putting out information to the community, and that can happen in a variety of ways. As we move forward, a new committee that the previous school committee voted on was around the Horace Mann Legacy Committee. I pulled that language right from one of the initial meetings. It was really just about developing and guiding the initiatives that would honor the life and contributions of Horace Mann, who was born in Franklin, and reflecting his influence on public education. So that was born out of redistricting and a lot of other things that were occurring at the time. And ultimately, that group meets, I put monthly as determined by subcommittee chair, depending on the work. That's sometimes we call those task force if they're for a short period of time, but subcommittee felt like a more appropriate title. I'll take any questions at the end. Policy subcommittee reviews policy. You heard the MASC, Tracy Novak talked about that today, but ultimately reviewing school committee policy as it pertains to the work that happens as an online manual that we have, and it really guides decisions that we make particularly as it comes to operationally. We use that as a guiding source of information. Next is the Superintendent Evaluation Subcommittee. That's a subcommittee that would review, look at my evaluation, my performance, and ultimately help to distill the evidence and the data, and then the whole committee votes on the evaluation, but ultimately there's a subgroup that works to try to keep that work moving forward. Next are liaison positions. These are not necessarily posted as like a posted public meeting, but they're a liaison because you don't have a quorum when you have these positions, but ultimately one person to review the bills for the district. So as part of the financial oversight of the school committee, one person is set to do that. Payroll review is another one, reviewing district payroll. Those are two functions that are in our agenda. They're at the beginning. You may have noticed they were deferred until the next meeting. So as soon as Mr. Griffith is provided, has those names, we'll put that on the agenda in future agendas so that that can be reported out. The Joint Parent Communication Council is really a group that all of the executive boards for each of the schools' PCCs come together as a joint PCC. We've had a liaison from the school committee as part of that group that meets to really go over it. And it's monthly, mostly. We deferred the September meeting and had a meeting in late October to kind of just touch base and organize because too much time was going by without some questions that needed to be answered. But ultimately, that person assigned by the chair would work with the PCCs. You'll notice an MASC, which is your group, your school committee group, that would work on advocating at the state level. It's ultimately about being plugged in and dialed into what MASC has going on, and it's ultimately that person is the go-to between your governing body, MASC, and your school committee, and vice versa. Sometimes the school committee has messaging that they need to get, and that's one person who would be the representative. Next, Mental Health and Wellbeing Task Force. That's a liaison that typically meets quarterly. It meets at the high school, and it's really about, and Mrs. Morano is the school district administrator who oversees that, ultimately working out of the high school with a wide variety of folks around all things related to improving our supports and services around trying to make sure that we're helping with mental health and just overall well-being of our students. Next, I talked about payroll already. I think this is the final one. It's School Wellness Advisory Council. That's actually in the state regs, but we were actually recognized at the state level for our work and our systems that we have in place. We went through their 2-year kind of accreditation process, and we're accredited through the state for the School Wellness Advisory Council and the work that occurs. That's led by Dr. Rogers. That also meets quarterly. Typically, they meet very similarly. I know it seems like you guys always have a very...
Yeah, that's actually shifted to Colin.
It's shifting to Colin.
Yep.
So Colin will be taking on the School Wellness Advisory Council. It's a 3-legged approach. Nadia, you helped me with when I was having a moment. It's nutrition, physical activity, and... I'll put you on the spot.
It's those two because it used to be mental health.
Oh, it was mental health, but we moved that into its...
So it's just those two.
Yes. Okay, that's right, you said physical activity. So ultimately, nutrition and physical activity, and then we've broken out mental health as its own, so it had its own space to do that work. So that's a broader overview. Happy to answer any questions, but ultimately, please review these, think about what interests you. If you have questions, please reach out. We're happy to answer questions, or you can reach out to Colin or Paula or me or Jana or anyone to help you if you're kind of curious about the work.
Questions? Bruce?
Yeah, I'm wondering procedurally, how does it work when a member of the school committee has business that is relevant to a subcommittee that they are not a member of?
How does a school committee?
So for example, there's budget subcommittee. I'm not sitting on budget subcommittee, but I have business I want to bring to them.
So you could communicate directly with the subcommittee chair about questions you may have. The subcommittee chair can then bring that to the budget meeting. We can do our best to either answer it or it can inform future information. Because ultimately, anything we're doing in the subcommittee that's related to moving forward will get presented to you all. And you will have a direct opportunity to engage like around budget with me, with Ms. Bellotti, with any Mrs. Morano, Dr. Rogers, anyone on those items. So that's one way, I would say. If you had a direct question that you thought, you know what, we talked a little bit about that in the workshop, but a clarifying question, it's not uncommon for a school committee member to reach out to me or Ms. Bellotti. I do always ask that, just for the communication channels, if you have questions, go through me, or if we've established that Ms. Bellotti for budget is the right approach, that is acceptable as well, that idea. But just to avoid having too many people communicating with too many staff members, I'd like to make sure that I'm doing my job as a leader too, to make sure I'm funneling some of that information. But ultimately, there are opportunities, and we're happy to help and answer anything we can, even if you're not on that committee.
Very good.
So one question and a comment. I know we had the reorganization liaison.
Yes.
Is that, I guess, are we changing that for this year?
We don't have it on here because once we reorged, it kind of came off the.
Oh, okay, got it.
We don't have that position. I think we dissolved the committee, I think, actually, didn't we, or no?
Through the chair. Sounds.
Yeah.
So we had the Comprehensive Facility Analysis Subcommittee, which that one kind of got dissolved, and then we just had liaisons. That I don't think was an actual official vote.
Okay.
It was just if somebody wants to do it, and then it was Chair Griffith and then Committee Member Gallagher at the time.
Okay. Okay, so it just is as needed, or so, okay, perfect. Okay, cool. And then one last thing, just to give a heads up. I know we don't have official folks, but just from a continuity standpoint, there will be a newsletter still. So hopefully I'm still there, but there will be a newsletter just to keep things going for this month here, so folks are at least aware of what's happening.
I understand now, yes.
So.
Yes, for the community relations?
Yeah, for us, yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
Just a point of clarification, is each subcommittee a member of 3?
Yes.
2 and a chair?
Yes.
Liaisons are one. Those aren't posted because they're part of a larger team, and we held those meetings, and then ultimately subcommittees are posted. We use Zoom, and we go through that process.
Thank you.
Steve? Ruth Ann?
No questions, thanks.
Steve?
Yeah, just one quick clarification. So the one which is in the packet is different from the one which is being shared on the screen?
Yes.
All right.
So
Okay.
the printout, that was a printout from the website. It's a little, I noticed it in the agenda that was sent, but I made a version that was cleaner, and I added it so that it had a cleaner, and I added like quarterly, because on the website it wasn't mentioning, so now it says it on the website. We've clarified, but this needed a little bit of attention that was put on today in preparation for the meeting. So, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And then Reese, to your point also, I think if there is something that needs to be brought up, we do have opportunities with new business, kind of discuss and see to kind of punt it over and then assign it to the correct committee if necessary. So we do have multiple opportunities, both in this format, but then also through email, as Lucas had said.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. So then moving along, we have the consent agenda.
Okay, so this section of the agenda, this information is in your packet prior. In preparation for meetings, it's good to just put eyes on these. These are consent agenda items that don't move to discussion action because they don't need as much discussion. A lot of times it's procedural. For example, you'll hear that we'll review minutes. So if you sat through this meeting, next meeting, those minutes will be in the packet. So if we do a vote, it doesn't need much deliberation, but you certainly have the ability to ask any questions when we do that. Typically with consent agenda, I run down the list of all of the things. It's a deposit from Ohio Pile. I love saying that. It's just a variety of things, so we will just run through them, and then you would then take that up as a consent agenda vote at the end of the list. Does that make sense? Okay. So I recommend approval of the minutes from your October 28th, 2025 meeting as detailed. I recommend the acceptance of $800 from the Lincoln Street 3 through 5 PCC for field trips as detailed.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as detailed?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion, questions?
Should new members recuse, sorry for not waiting, should new members recuse themselves from approving the minutes?
So they are posted and they are online. If you did not review the minutes or you did not, it's okay, it's not like homework. But if you did not, you should recuse if you did not. If you did watch the meeting or you did review the notes and you feel as though that they're accurate, you can take a vote. It's because we post it publicly and it's recorded. You do have that option if you did view it. So what we can do is I can do the consent for each of these items individually, if that's helpful, and then you can do approve, abstain, but ultimately that's.
I think we can cover them all together. If people feel the need to abstain, they can do so.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? No? Seeing none, the vote will come in a motion. All those in favor signifying by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay? Or anyone opposed? So- All right, seeing none, motion carries. All right, good of the order. So, in the first, the first meeting of every month, the school committee adopted rules and protocols saying that this stands as an opportunity to allow members to speak on the functioning of the school committee with the intent for improvement. So if anyone has anything around how the school committee functions or how this meeting functions, this is a wonderful opportunity to bring it to light. We can discuss, usually have an opportunity to take back and then revisit as necessary in the future. So if anyone has anything that they'd like to bring forward for the good of the order, Stephen?
Not at this moment.
No? Ruth Ann?
I can't help but just put into the atmosphere what Steve Sherlock said at our first meeting last year, which is town council has 9 members and we have 7. And we're over half of the town's budget and, the amount of subcommittees and the amount of work and support that I wish we could give the school. It's tough to have lost KP in this because he was great and he cared a lot. And it's like, what harm would it do to have 8 of us up here? It wouldn't, So it just kind of, just something I keep thinking about and it's just nagging. But I don't, it's not my top priority, but it's like, it's worth considering. If people want to step up and help out, I don't see why they couldn't. So anyway, just thought, good order, on the fly.
Thank you.
I will
Dave?
echo those sentiments. I know last week's town council meeting, they did kind of talk about the town charter, and that is where, how many members kind of are seated at the table is in the town charter. A number of town councilors did kind of go and say, maybe this is something, what can we actually do and amend within the charter? And if that's something that the school committee is interested in advocating for, to say, hey, it's town council's 9, FinCom's 9, school committee is 7, to your point, maybe it should be 9. It might be something just worthwhile. And you mentioned KP as well. I know, we kind of said like Dave and Aaron got their flowers at our last meeting. KP, St. Pauli, though, did a wonderful job for the past 2 years. Really thank you very much for your work. And last one, and congratulations, Chair Griffith. And I wish you nothing but the best. I'm very excited. I already kind of see some of the gray leaving my beard. And I'm very excited. And congratulations for returning, and especially for the new members as well. I'm very excited about what we're going to be able to do for these next 2 years.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Dave. Nadia?
I'm just thankful to be up here with this amazing crew and to be a part of this and to serve the town in this capacity.
Yep. So to echo the sentiments of my colleagues here, yes, definitely agree that we need to have 9. I think that would be helpful. But also, I think to get that done, and the importance of this is to have more visibility in the town council. So being there present consistently, be it one meeting a month, like officially, where we can speak to what's been happening here from our perspective and just to help ensure that the new town council understands what we're doing, how do we work together, our needs, what things that we've been doing, because not always, the audiences that watch both groups don't necessarily always cross-pollinate. So I think the more exposure we have over there, the better.
Thank you all. Reese?
I support the idea of exploring expanding to 9 in the future. That makes sense, and I appreciate the opportunity to work with everyone up here. And that's about it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So then moving past that, we have citizens' comments. Are there any citizens in the audience, in person or online, who would like to make a comment on an item not on tonight's agenda? And falls within the committee's purview. In the spirit of open communication, we will hold this public participation segment about matters not related to an agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Steve Sherlock, 13 Magnolia Drive, Communication Information Director for Franklin Matters, Franklin Public Radio. 3 things, I think, if I remember correctly. So first, thank you all for stepping up. It's a very important, as you've already mentioned, position running the schools for the town. First, thank you. Second, you are now in one of 2 TV studios in this building. You were in the other one upstairs, although we weren't using it as a TV studio for your MASC workshop. But the microphone in front of you, and fortunately most of you have been doing pretty well, because as opposed to last week, I did something similar to the town council, and then I was getting texted by other folks outside complaining about councilors who hadn't even listened to what I was saying 10 or 15 minutes before. The microphone needs to be right in front of you. So if you lean into it and then speak properly, we will all hear you, not just here, but more importantly, forever, either on Comcast, Verizon, or on YouTube. And people are watching it, yes. Doesn't necessarily show on Zoom so much. YouTube does count. We can't count how many people are on Comcast or Verizon. But either now within this time or sometime, they will go there. And if you speak properly, great. People will know exactly what you're saying. If you step to the side, not a great one because I get a big voice anyway, but lean really back, you're not going to be conveying what you need to do. So please, I'd rather not come back with some sort of participation or percent accuracy of microphone versus, in a competitive way, trying to do it friendly between council versus school committee. Who does better? But that would be an option. And I forgot my third one, so thank you.
Anyone online? Seeing none. We'll move on to new business. Just for everyone's information, this is where we traditionally cover what's going to be coming up, and certain things that we do are on kind of a regular cadence, so it's easier to predict. Other times it is usually a follow-up of some form or another, but usually Lucas gives us a good update here.
So thank you. So we will present, next meeting, we do have some normal business items, but one thing that we're doing differently, you heard Mrs. Morano mention, she's going to be providing an overview of student services and kind of the system, the supports, the programming, and all of the things that we offer, all things student services across the board. The following meeting in January will be teaching and learning. Those are the 2 large elements of our district, and then we roll into budget. My hope is that having a background on those 2 larger departments will help frame some of the budget conversations, and then we'll move from there. But ultimately, student services is the biggest piece. The other thing I would mention is capital. We will be sharing a capital request update with all of you. Basically, in Franklin, we've had a capital program. We know that we have been really challenged fiscally as a community for some time. Town administrator has talked about this at length as well, but still we have been asked and have the opportunity to put forth capital requests. I think this year we need to be really realistic and be fiscally responsible with, not that we are all the time, but certainly just in tune to our current financial situation, but ultimately we have put together capital requests that we will share with you as a committee. One of the asks that you will have is to review, ask questions, and ultimately help us to put forth and endorse a capital request that would go to the town as part of one of the departments within the town, that the process would then move forward. We'll get into that detail then, but I just wanted to forecast those two items are on your agenda for the December 9th meeting. You'll have that information prior to the meeting in your packets and whatnot, and there'll be probably some internal discussions along the way to keep us moving forward.
Thank you. Any questions? All right.
Actually, sorry, I do.
Last second. Okay.
Yes. School visits?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Yes, thank
I
you.
just received word that Franklin Soccer won 2-0. My daughter got in. She was goalie for the final on the second half. So I wish I could have seen it, but maybe the next one. This is another game. They live on. They play on. So anyway, I'm excited to conclude this meeting so I can figure out what's going on with that. In all honesty, tours.
Yes.
So just so you know, we're excited to do some school tours across the district. I'd like to settle on a time. I will work through the chair to coordinate schedules and whatnot, but ultimately we would post, per your policy, school committee can tour buildings in your capacity as a school committee member. There's some wording on how and what we're looking for. We're not there to evaluate, employees, but put eyes on the new schools. We're excited. I know the principals are excited, staff are excited. I think this is really an opportunity for you to put eyes on every school. I think if we did it right, we can use our activity van. We have Mrs. Morrison's offered to drive. She's certified. And ultimately, we can get you on a bus. If you want to, we can get on the same bus and just hit school to school and go through the district and have it really planned so that when you get off the bus, you're rolling in like Taylor Swift at a concert venue. Get you in, get you to see some of the spaces and see what's going on in these amazing schools that we have. See the kids, see the staff, see the physical layout of the building. And then I'd love to do that if we could between the Thanksgiving break and the winter break, if possible, just to get you in now before we talk budget and all those things. You'll have actually put eyes on some positions, some of the physical environments, the learning spaces, just what goes on in school. So thank you for reminding me, and I'm really excited about that opportunity for all of you.
Thank you.
Good call.
Question.
All right.
Well, it's kind of it piggybacks on that. So I didn't have a question, now I have a question. Sorry.
Please, Ruth Ann.
One of the ideas that we floated around was with the new town council and budget season arriving, I think a majority of the town councilors, it's pretty understood, ran specific about like building in town. That was a really hot topic this election season. Not so much the failed overrides. So I have a concern, and I think probably a shared concern, that we need to get people up to speed fast going into budget season, because there's just a little bit of talk out there like, do you know what the school budget is? And it's like, well, we've been doing 19 joint budget hearings. Like, it's like we've been talking about this for 2 years, and I think that there was a sort of group of non-school stakeholders that got really ignited for this local town election because of the building, who don't know much about what the schools, like the erosion that you've had to endure throughout this. So I think the sooner we can kind of put that, and like a tour may not be the greatest idea. Like I've talked to some teachers, just like neighbor teachers, who are like, oh, I wish that like the town council could do like, a day in the life of a teacher, or like something that is a little bit more like live in their shoes experience, which is going to be harder to pull off. So the tour on its surface doesn't sound great, but I think you're aware, Jonna put together some information that I had asked for to kind of create like a summary of like a little bit of like the concessions that have been made through the schools throughout like the past like 10 years or so, and just like changes in enrollment and things like that might speak to the non-stakeholders a little bit more. And I think, and I specifically, like this idea sort of was generated from Susan Dusnap, who used to run finance committee who said back in the day, Maureen Sabalinski took the town council around on a tour and would say like, here is this area that we service like students who have different kinds of needs and things. And it was like really eye-opening to the people who aren't used to what like modern education does now. So just something to think about. I know you have a lot on your plate, but I think this one's kind of worth it.
Through the chair, I think it's a good point. I think the more we can do that. What I want, our policy is specific to school committees going through and touring during the day while
Right.
kids are in session. Certainly, I'm interested to actually look into this further because I do agree, the more people can see, the better. I think it serves us to do that. But I just want to make sure I'm doing it above board. I'd love to know how that
Yeah,
went
and
before.
Maureen might be the one to
Yeah,
talk to
so-
about that. Like,
yeah.
she's still in town.
Right,
and-
right.
And Sue can tell me. And I think it's less about like seeing than it is like, hey, we're capturing their attention for this hour or two. So we really have like their full attention. And some people are visual learners. Like you guys know, like people learn in different ways. So
Yeah. I think what we'll do is we'll start with you as a school committee, as you oversee schools and getting in and seeing these physical spaces, but certainly open to any way we can provide information or share any experiences or whatever that we can do. We're certainly, I'm not opposed to that at all. I just want to make sure we follow the right channels and the process is there and it's above board.
yeah.
And I don't have, my concern is just making sure that I follow, your policy allows for you all to get in, so that's what I'm comfortable committing to publicly at this moment, but certainly want to
Right.
look into that and say, what could be offered? What are opportunities where we can bring the community in? You know,
Yeah.
we do that in, like, we have Panther Pride Night, for example. That's a good example of, that's open to the community and ultimately parents of incoming students, but are there these types of things where we
Yeah.
can do that as well, in addition to what you're asking? We have Senior Project. Could we have people come and join and serve on those groups that evaluate? We do rubrics for every group, and we group people together. We've had town council and school committee members join those to listen and be a rater of the information heard about their experience. So there's a variety of ways in which that can look, but I just want to think about that further, and I might even give Ms. Sabalinski a call and see how
Yeah.
she.
And I can too. I think, and it might have been run by the school committee. Like at the time, I think Maureen was doing it, but I was also hearing like, hey, we don't have to take up all the bandwidth if a school committee can kind of facilitate something like this. It wouldn't necessarily be like coming into the schools without an administrator with us,
Yeah,
but.
no one's getting into a school
Right.
without my permission.
Right.
Even you all, we have to post it. No one, I
Right.
feel very strongly about
And we
it.
can't
It's
have
not an
like a
open
quorum.
door, but we can, if
Yeah.
it's planned and thoughtful in some other way, I think I'm open to that. But
Yeah.
for the sake of not over speaking in a public meeting, I want to just think about it, but
Yeah.
we have policy that says, school committee, you oversee schools as far as the operation, all the things that we talked about in the workshop. I want to give you that opportunity. I think we start there, but to your point, engaging the community at large only serves us as a school district so that people have a full sense.
Yeah.
Just for safety, I feel.
Yeah.
I'm responsible,
Yeah.
so, yeah. And they're safe people, it's not like I'm worried about that, but
Right.
we just gotta do it the right way, okay?
And the town council can't be a quorum either, so I'm sure we have to find out
just
what
have
they,
to do
what they
things the
did.
right way,
Yeah,
that's all.
sure. That's it. That's all I got.
Excellent, thank you. So seeing nothing further, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Vote will come in the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.